Hello, and welcome to our Explore the Bible Session 10 Sunday School Lesson Prep. And we are in Judges chapter 7 today. This is our second lesson looking at the judge Gideon that God used. Today's subject is God's glory. Really, Gideon is not the main character of this story. God is. And we're going to see in this lesson how God used a very unique form of battle and used Gideon to bring himself glory. And our objective statement is every believer can bring God much glory by committing to 3 life directives. Number 1, we're going to see in this story that we should never seek glory for ourselves. Never seek glory for myself. Let's pick up chapter 7, verse 1. It says, Then Jerubbaal, who was Gideon, and all the people that were with him rose up early and pitched beside the well of Harod, so that the host of the Midianites were on the north side of them, by the hill in Moreh, in the valley. And the Lord said unto Gideon, The people that are with thee are too many for me to give the Midianites into their hands, lest Israel vaunt themselves against me, saying, Mine own hand hath saved me. So again, the really verse 2 is kind of the key verse for this whole passage. We should be pursuing God's glory, how to bring glory to God. Here, last time we talked about the Midianites, this nomadic people that have moved in. They're really destroying the land of Israel. The nation of Israel has been in weakness and fear. God's raised up Gideon to defeat the Midianites. But before they ever have a battle, God says that he is going to give some very unique instructions so that the nation of Israel does not think that the victory was due to themselves, take the glory for themselves, but instead they would realize that it was God who had saved them. And that's what he says there in verse 2. The number of people that you have in your army is too big. And if that large army defeats the Midianites, they will give themselves the glory. And so I don't want Israel to say, oh, we did this in our own strength. And really that's a lesson for us. We should never seek glory for ourselves. It's so easy. That seems to just to be a part of our natural fallen state, is always to want man's praise and do things for that impure motive of self-glorification, for pride. And that always causes problems. And it caused Israel problems in the past. And so again, if God is going to get Israel out of their idol worship and the path that led them to sin and weakness and fear, he's got to get them on the right path of worshiping the one true God. And in that case, there's only one God who deserves all glory and honor and praise, and it's obviously Jehovah, the God of the Bible. So we cannot seek glory for ourselves. The second directive we see in this passage is that we should always place our trust in God and not in other things. One of the greatest ways we can bring glory to God is simply to trust him and not in other things. And so you know the story. We'll continue reading. It says, Now therefore go and proclaim in the ears of the people, saying, Whoever is fearful and afraid, let him return and depart early from the Mount Gilead. And there returned of the people 22,000, and there remained 10,000. And the Lord said unto Gideon, The people are yet too many. Bring them down into the water, and I will try them for thee there. And it shall be that of whom I say unto thee, This shall go with thee, the same shall go with thee. And of whomsoever I say unto thee, This shall not go with me, the same shall not go. So he brought down the people unto the water, and the Lord said unto Gideon, Every one that lappeth of the water with his tongue as a dog lappeth, him shalt thou set by himself. Likewise every one that boweth down upon his knees to drink. And the number of them that lapped, putting their hand to their mouth, were 300 men. But all the rest of the people bowed down upon their knees to drink water. And the Lord said unto Gideon, By the 300 men that lapped will I save you, and deliver the Midianites into thine hand, and let all the other people go every man unto his place. So the people took the victuals in their hand and their trumpets, and he sent all the rest of Israel, every man unto his tent, and retained those 300 men. And the host of Midian was beneath him in the valley. So directive number 2, if we want to bring God glory, we place our trust in God and not in other things. Again, Israel could have placed their trust in this 32,000 man army. But God says, no, that's too many people. And says, if you're afraid, Gideon tell these men, if you're afraid, they can go home. And so 22,000 leave. Then among the 10,000, God says, no, you're still, if 10,000 men fight this battle, your confidence, your trust is going to be in the men and not in God. It needs to be even smaller. And so he gives them this directive there to have all the men go and drink water from the brook. And if they scoop it up and lap the water out of their hand, they can stay and they can be a part of the battle. But if they get down and drink with their faces directly in the water, you're to allow them to go home. Well, that process produces only 300 men. Again, God is trying to be very clear with these people. Place your trust in me, not in the size of your army. And again, when we place our trust in God, we are bringing glory to God. When you cry out to God in prayer, asking him to meet your needs, you are saying, God, you are the only one who can meet needs. You're bringing God glory by trusting in him. When you obey when it doesn't make sense, and you're having to trust God's commands, again, you are bringing God glory by putting your trust in him and not trusting in other things. And obviously, as affluent Americans, it's so easy to put our trust in the wrong thing, in our comforts, in our bank accounts, in our healthcare system, in personal strength, and put our trust in other people. There's so many other ways that we take our trust that should be only on the Lord and put it in other things. And so obviously that prevents God from getting glory. So directive number 2, to bring God glory, we should place our trust in him and not in other things. Then the final point of the lesson, directive number 3, if we want to bring God glory, we need to obey his commands even when it doesn't make sense. So now let's pick up in verse 19. We have this 300-man army with Gideon. It says, so Gideon and the 100 men that were with him came into the outside of the camp in the beginning of the middle watch, and they had but newly set the watch. And they blew the trumpets and brake the pitchers that were in their hands. And the 3 companies blew the trumpets and brake the pitchers and held the lamps in their left hands and the trumpets in their right hands to blow withal. And they cried, the sword of the Lord and of Gideon. And they stood every man in his place round about the camp. And all the host of Midian ran and cried and fled. And the 300 blew the trumpets, and the Lord set every man's sword against his fellow, even throughout all the host. And the host fled to Beth Shittah and Zerath, and to the border of Abel Meholah unto Tabbath. And the men of Israel gathered themselves together out of Naphtali, and out of Asher, and out of all Manasseh, and pursued after the Midianites. So here you see the nation of Gideon leading this small army of 300 men to obey God's command in a way that just does not make sense. Of course, in battle, you're thinking weapons, power, strength, and God is saying, no, smaller numbers, no weapons. In verse 16, it tells us that those 300 men were going to be divided into 3 different groups of 100. And that all they're going to be allowed to take with them is a trumpet, a clay pitcher, and a lamp or a torch. And so they put the clay pitcher over the torch in one hand, and they hold the trumpet in another hand, and they divide up into these 3 groups of 100. Now they are on the Midianites are down in a valley, and then Israel's going to surround them on 3 sides with these men. And when Gideon gives the instruction with his group, All of the men are to drop the pitcher, allowing it to break so that the torch can be seen. They're to blow the horn. And then verse 20 tells us that they're to cry out very loud, "The sword of the Lord and of Gideon." I am not a battle commander. I'm not in the military, but I would imagine that most military commanders would not look at this and say this is one of the best ways to wage and win war. But this was God's plan. God had given them a very clear directive. But it tells us by following God's commands, even when it doesn't make sense, God gave a clear and decisive victory. The Midianites in the camp, they see the lights, they hear the pitchers break, they hear the trumpets blow, and then these men shout, and fear fills their hearts, and they're running around, and basically the Midianites are fighting themselves, killing themselves with their own swords. And ultimately, God, through these 300 men, defeat the Midianites and deliver the nation of Israel. But what happened, just like it said back in verse 2, all of this was done so that Israel would not say that my own hand has saved me. God that day received the glory. Israel had been in idolatry. They'd been worshiping other gods, but now God has proven to them yet again that he is the one true God. And the God that when you give him glory and you obey him, you submit to him, he blesses you, he protects you, and leads you. And so obviously he is the God who deserves our glory. That's something we need not to forget. We as Christian people, we live for the purpose to bring God glory. That's really what we were created to do. And so it's wrong to seek glory for ourselves. We should place our trust in God and not in other things. Don't give his glory to something else. And ultimately, we should seek to bring him glory by complete and total obedience to everything that he commands. And so it's a wonderful principle for life. We were created to give and bring God glory. All right, so I hope that helps with studying Judges chapter 7, and hope you have a great Sunday. Thanks so much.